Let's return back home because, as you know, there's a big story now playing around fuel prices. Kenneth Riata once upon a time was the finance minister who was dictating a lot of the policy that was affecting this. He is currently behind bars. He's fighting his continued detention. But this current government and the finance minister is taking the mantle, and we've seen prices drop. The steepest drop in fuel prices in a long, long time under the current finance minister, Dr. Acheampong forcing. And this has become an issue. Now there's a whole fight around who can charge the lowest price when it comes to fuel. Other pumps, fascinating story indeed. From a time when fuel used to be as high as, I'm talking about petrol, 17 cedis a litre, to now the OMCs are fighting among themselves who can charge the lowest price. That's a story in itself. But we're talking now petrol. I'm looking at Goil and Star Oil seem to be the two OMCs doing this and playing the game as far as who is challenging each other. Competition is good for us. Yesterday I bought fuel, filled my tank for 500 cedis. For less than that, I had to run it up to 500 cedis. Never happened to me before, but I did that yesterday, last night, and I went to one of them. I'm not going to say because that's promotional, but I went to one of them and I got the fuel I've never, ever paid before. But this is a very interesting, fascinating scenario playing out here. Star Oil, as we know now, it's saying a litre of petrol is 97 pesos, and Goil is now at 9 cedis, 99 pesos. Fascinating indeed. Both of them very, very close. 2 pesos difference. But it makes a difference if you're buying the cumulative volumes. You come to diesel. Again, the difference is now is a bit more because Star Oil is at 10.97 and you see Goil at 11.21. And the CEOs of both entities have been out there on social media going at each other on this particular matter. This, by the way, is good if you're a consumer. That is really what you simply want to see because it impacts the pocket. If you look at the trend over the last, since 2024, you see the highest we've been when it comes to the fuel prices trend. And this, by the way, is per litre of diesel and petrol. The blue line you see there is petrol, and the red line you see there is diesel. We saw petrol going as far as 14 CD 75 pesos, but there was a time back before 2024 when it went to 17, and in fact diesel was above 20. And of course, Kenneth Riata's watch, that obviously has changed. And under the watch of the current finance minister, we've seen that decline there all the way to 9 cedis, 99 pesos. And so this has been the trend. And you see the dip there. The dip is quite steep if you look at the line there at the end. Quite steep. And this is what is forcing the OMCs to now have a conversation. Why is this happening? One of the fundamental reasons why this is happening is the exchange rate. The dollar has been performing not as well against the cedi. The cedi is strong and it's held its ground and has been appreciating and very, very strong against the US dollar. And it's fundamentally one of the reasons why we're seeing what we're seeing, because currently we're talking about 10 cedis, 84 pesos as far as the dollar and the cedi's relationship is concerned. That exchange rate there is a fundamental reason, one of them, why this is happening. It's a factor of economic policies, a factor of global geopolitics, a factor of global economic performance. But all that it put in the basket means the ordinary Ghanaian is benefiting. But are they? Because we've seen that it has not reflecting yet in the lower prices for fares, for the ordinary masses can enjoy this. But private drivers like myself are already taking the benefit. And then you see the trend of the crude oil prices internationally. Another factor this contributing to this is the drop in the world price of crude. It's costing it cheaper to bring it in. And then we're now seeing the fight over the price floor. So should it be scrapped is a key question we're going to be asking today. We have a panel joining us. The NPA, that by the way is the policy, they supervise and regulate the particular sector. They are clear that they will not remove the price floor. You have no plans at all in removing that. So we'll see whether the players agree with that. But if you go across the country, rationale for this was clear that it's unhealthy price competition. Who is arguing on our behalf when it comes to it? Who says it's unhealthy? We like it. If the filling stations were unprofitable, that's their business. But they don't want to make money by reducing prices. Who's complaining? But NPA had a justification for it. For which reason this was brought in, and it has been criticized in the past by ASEP and co. And there's a call now that NPA must review the price floor, and they must look at how Star Oil, for example, is getting to charge so low. But this graph that you see on the screen here was the one that really got me. This is the market share for both Star Oil and GOIL. And if you go back to 2016, GOIL had the market share of 21%. In 2020, it's been, a bit uneven. In 2022, 21%. To the point where we're now talking about Star Oil overtaking GOIL when it comes to the market share. They have 13%, GOIL had 11%. That is mind-blowing. GOIL had no competitor in the race there in the market, but it seemed that Star Oil is beating it. How exactly are they doing this? Price is important, but what else? We'll talk about that. So there are big questions there about the economic implications of this, the economic environment that this is playing in, but what this means for you and how government can ensure that this then translates to you. The bigger question about price floor is it's time to change the policy. Big questions here on PM Express after this. Stay with me. For staying with us here on PM Express, let's return to our main conversation. I mean, today has been a very busy day as far as the Ken Ofori-Atta hearing in the US is concerned. And so we had to get you that update and get some clarity. And it was very good clarity indeed from Janelle, who is the immigration lawyer from the United States. And now let's focus back home. And as you know, PM Express is always brought to you by Syntex Tanks. It is strong, it is tough. Pepsodent Cavity Fighter toothpaste. Also, my guest joining me for a conversation on the subject of fuel prices. And you have noticed, I'm pretty sure you have. I did last night when I filled my tank. It's around 750, I believe. Yes, last night when I filled it, I had 2 bars or 3 bars before I filled it. I paid 495 cedis, and I had asked them to round it up to 500. It was a miracle. I didn't believe it. I mean, I won't tell you which station it was, but it was a miracle. So let's understand what's happening, first of all. And then there's a conversation around price floor, which is basically the price below which no OMC is allowed to charge. And I'm like, what is that? So they were explaining that. But there's a campaign now to scrap it. And I'm delighted because GPRTU guys are in the studio with me also. So Abass Ibrahim Tasunti is the Director of Economic Regulations and Planning at the National Petroleum Authority. They are the regulators. Dr. Theo Acheampong is the Technical Advisor to the Finance Minister. The Finance Ministry is important in this because what we are witnessing is a function and a product of economic management. And so it's important that we have him in the conversation about sustainability and those big questions. And thankfully, he's a petroleum analyst too. This is a field that is bread and butter before he went to give his expertise to the finance minister. So he's the best person to talk to. Also joining me is a public relations officer with the GPRTU, Abass Imoro. I'm grateful that you can join us. And of course, we can't have this conversation without him. Dr. Riverson Oppong is the CEO of the Industry Coordinator, Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies. And let me start with him. What really is happening? What's happening? It's from a personal point of view, I couldn't believe when the thing hit and it stopped automatically. I thought there's something wrong with the machine.
An error.
Yes. So I call the guy. He comes and he says it's full. It's full. 459. Never. What is happening?
Is it because your tank is shrinking?
That's my point.
Maybe he was having enough. Well,
I had 2 or 3 bars in there because I heard before people were arguing that the price is low. But what is happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you listen to the chamber's position around the pricing regime that we've had or we have in the industry, we every 2 weeks publish the price outlook. It's no doubt that for the past 3 to 4 windows, we've forecasted a lower or reduction in fuel price, which I can say publicly that all our members have adhered to it with the percentage of rates that we expect our members to reduce the fuel to. What we are seeing today, I would say was expected.
Okay.
Because if you are in a deregulated market where members are challenging each other for the same customer or off-takers or consumer, whatever you want to put it, it's expected that there will be this kind of healthy, unhealthy war against each other. Today, like you said in the prelims of a presentation, there is the Goil Star Oil saga. Obviously, these are the tigers and the lions fighting, making the whole country messed up. Too much noise around the topic. Yeah. Post 2015 deregulation, and I believe that MP is the best person to talk about it. I mean, where we came from, where we are. The floor price we see today is something the industry itself took to the regulator. Even before I came to become, I came on the seat to become the industry coordinator. In fact, when I came last 2 years in April, we were at the reviewing part or position of the whole floor price.
So that is 9 cedis, 80 pesos?
I mean, which is, you mean
the
today?
petrol? The floor price.
Yeah, 9 cedis, 80 pesos.
80 pesos.
Yes. I mean, the whole policy, I came to meet it. And the history is that the chamber led the industry to MPA to ask for that.
Why?
Now, so that is why removing it is not just a public decision. It's a regulatory decision and an industry decision, which I've said that tomorrow we've started now with our board subcommittee engagement. On Thursday there's a board meeting, and I believe the public will hear what our position is.
And this meeting is to consider a review?
A review, yes.
Of the price floor?
Yes.
Is it a review? Okay, review doesn't mean scrapping. I say you are going to reduce the price floor further, or you're going to raise it, okay, let's say adjust, or you are going to scrap it. What is it?
Like I said, the meeting starts tomorrow, and I believe that this is part of the discussion we're going to have. So all our committee members are made up of the company that are today fighting, Star Goil and other OMCs as part of it. And even on top of it, the board of COMAC we have Star CEO and also the Goil CEO also there. And like I said, I mean, the whole issue was the undercutting of price, right? Where I mean, visibly we had certain OMCs who were selling below certain prices that were uncalled for, which we knew in the industry was never, I mean, close to any break-even point. What do we see? We see this amounting to illegalities, people selling all sort of products to people just because they can price lower. We saw people evading taxes. You and I were here when Jerry made a press statement that they've impounded some vehicles who had white fuels, petrol and diesel, that were smuggled from depots. That passed through, that did not pass through the ERDMS. That means that they are invading taxes. So if somebody is selling this product close to you and you are a competitor, he will price under you. So the floor price was set to prevent all this. Because today, if you scrap the floor price, believe me, due to the number of OMCs and the competition, we cannot guarantee that we are going to see a sanity. I mean, it's going to see sanity in the industry. Remember, the floor price today does not include so many variables for which it still seems unrealistic on paper that anybody can sell below the floor price. The floor price today, like you said, at the SREF point for petrol is 5.53. Diesel is 6.62. This is a floor price. It doesn't include the premium. It doesn't include charges from the BDCs. The BDCs are paying per ton or per liter to MPA, per what you sell. Are you telling that you're not going to pay this, statutory levies? What is in the market today? Cash today, at cash you can get AGO for 6.95, nothing below 6.22. So tell me how you can sell below 6.22 as SREF. The cash price for PMS is 5.9 on average. So tell me, is it below 5.53? It's not below 5.53. If you then add the taxes and levies, which are constant, you have not even added your margin as an OMC. So you can choose to scrap your margin, which was the case also because some OMCs who were now very close to people who could underprice because of wherever they got their product from, were now being forced to sell the same price or just a little bit above to also get some sales. But let me say this, Evans. We have done a nationwide tour, except the North, as a chamber. I have seen stations who for a week don't sell 1 liter. I engage them for a whole week. They sit down there, their full attendants are being paid, but they don't sell even a liter. So the competition is very high. And the consumer, and I said the consumer, I'm also a consumer. But the point is, until we get the system to be incorruptible, sanitized to a certain extent, I believe this was the intention, that it was a temporary solution.
Let me ask you, under the current market conditions, with world prices falling, CD is very strong,
that's the reason why we've been coming down.
Yeah, so I'm talking about price fall.
Yeah.
If you look in the current market conditions, can the floor price come down further and still remain profitable?
So if you look at our 16th to 31st January
window,
we said that fuel price is supposed to go down.
Yeah.
CD appreciated by more than 10%. Fuel prices came down, even though crude oil price went up. So it's not always that crude oil price goes up that diesel, the petrol price will go up. We analyzed it, and we gave a forecast. Have you seen that our forecast is never direct? We give a range. We give range because not all OMCs get the price at the same level as other OMCs. So today, I can put a regime that will make my fuel price cheaper than yours. The BDCs import not at the same landing price. They don't put the same margin on it. So you cannot have the same price.
Okay, fascinating. Let me bring in Abass. Abass, so you are the transport operators. Yeah. What do you stand on this? There's this price floor matter and the way the fuel price has dropped so significantly. You must have a position in this. They're going to decide. Yes. MP, what do you stand?
We have one problem with them. There was a time we bought vehicles and put them on this Kumasi road. And the drivers realized one station who is stationed within Eastern region corridors. The price was quite low, so they were buying from there. All the engines got spoiled. Oh. Because the fuel was bad.
And was it reported?
We realized later. That it was the fuel. Although it was cheap, it was bad. So this is our problem.
Okay.
That they should not be in the competition area where one will be selling cheaper fuel, which might not be very good fuel. So plead with them, they should check that also for us.
Do you want the price floor reduced further? The price floor is currently 90 cedis.
If you ask, I will even say, I'll close my eyes and by the time I open, the fuel should be around 4 cedis. Yes, we want further because we don't have single spine salary. That is the single spine salary for a driver, a professional driver. Each time fuel prices are being reduced, that is where the driver get breathing space. So we are praying that the fuel gets more downward than it is today. Meanwhile, when we get to somewhere, automatically prices will also...
Abass, you also be very graciously, I'll say, factual that we have been consistent.
For now, you are doing well. Don't go further. For now, you are doing well. We always praise the government because that was our problem. Once upon a time, fuel prices were just climbing. Yeah. And they give us this promise, which of course, currently, we are having breathing space. So we are most grateful.
Yeah, and I'll come to you, Abass, about, okay, so when are we going to see a corresponding reduction in fares? I'll come to you. And thanks for staying with us. My microphone suddenly failed us, so we had to go for that quick break. That's why it was that abrupt. Apologies there. I want to bring in Abass Ibrahim Tasunti with the MPA. Abass, so where do you stand tonight, the MPA, on this price floor conversation?
So I think you started by saying the MPA is bent on not scrapping the price floor. Yes, that's our position today, but it is not to say that the MPA is not open for discussions about its review or its review. Let me just put it that way. Remember that this policy only was introduced just about 2 years ago, and prior to that, it didn't exist. As Riverson has explained, it came about from a
Oh, we have a challenge there with his connection. We'll try and rectify that so we can hear his thoughts on this, especially as Comag is just now about to meet to review the price floor. Let me bring in Dr. Theo Acheampong in the interim. Dr. Acheampong, so from the Finance Ministry point of view, what will be the right approach to take on the subject of petroleum pricing as far as the pumps are concerned?
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that there are a few things, and it's very useful that my brother Riverson actually spoke earlier to explain a lot of the regulatory and the policy rationale underpinning this pricing policy, which has been in place for a few years now. It's important to stress that it's still a largely deregulated market within which operates within certain bounds. And when you look at the things that drives prices for the consumer, at the end of the day, of course, you want lower prices, but the prices must also clear the market cost of the goods that you're bringing in that instance. For, call it, the people that watch the economy, what you want is relatively slower, right, pricing, to the extent that when you look at the inflation data or the statistics that the Ghana Statistical Services publishes, actually the transportation contribution is about 10% of the total inflation basket. And if you work out the relative changes over the period, month on month and then on a year-on-year basis, transport share as a share of the inflation basket on a year-on-year basis as of December actually was -5%. And this is consistent over the month. So as far back as June of 2025, the data showed a negative price reduction of -2%, and then it comes all the way down to December of -5%. So the point I'm trying to paint here is that from a consumer, I'll call it from a macro perspective, you want relatively stable pricing. And the fact that transport is a big deal in Ghana, if you look at the consumption basket again, two things drive almost all the consumption in the country. Food and transportation is about more than around half of household consumer expenditure in Ghana. And that has a big, impact on how people live their livelihoods. So really the discussion around all these pricing and the points that have been made comes down to what is driving it. From where I sit and the work that I've done in the past, there are four things that are driving the pricing, right? The international price that you have on the global markets, and most of our products will come from Rotterdam or some other place in Europe. The second thing is the exchange rate, right? The third thing is the taxes, the levies, and then the other regulatory margins, which are often fixed. And then the fourth thing, which sometimes we don't discuss a lot, is really more or less the, call it broader supply chain cost and then the commercial margin. So the bits that the OMCs and the BDCs, add onto it. The purpose of the pricing policy or the floor was that if you take all these four factors into account, on any given time or period, you can come up with a number which would represent what you call the market clearing price, right? So to the extent that any company is selling a product on the market below or significantly below that price could indicate two things. Either they are cutting back, right, on their margins, or they are getting product from other places that are not coming through the official channels, right? And that is then allowing them to be able to more or less undercut or underprice in this instance here. So really the solution to this and the conversation that is really happening currently is to go back to the drawing board. And I'm glad that both the chamber and then the MPA and then the other players in these spaces that they're going to meet and they're going to discuss and look at the policy all over again.
Yeah, and on that point, I wanted to get, please stay with me, Theo. Let me try and get the MPA clarity on that point, because he started by talking about their position, which is we're not interested in reviewing, but he then says they may be open. So let's get him on that. Abass, please make that point for me. Are you saying that the MPA is open now to have a discussion about reviewing the price floor?
Yes, Ivan. So what I was saying is that the MPA has never had any policy that is cast in stone, that is never reviewed. I was saying earlier before I went off that the policy never existed until almost 2 years ago, April 2024. And so this policy was brought in to address a problem based on consultations with the industry. And so at any point in time, when there's a call for us to review any policy that we have, we'll have discussions, and then if indeed there's a justification for why we should amend the policy, the MPA is always open to that. So the MPA never has any policy that it insists that it will not be open to review. As Riverson said earlier, the call for us to have a price floor came from the industry. And let me give a bit of a background. This came up after we did an assessment of the price regulation policy, which we had implemented since July 2015. So in 2021, we had a committee set up with stakeholders from the entire industry and other stakeholders to review the policy. And one of the issues that came up was the issue about price undercutting. And so based upon consultations, we realized that, as Riverson said, some companies or stations were selling below cost. And it's important to mention, as Theo has said, that there's a formula that is used to determine the price of petroleum products. And this price build-up that we use, this formula has certain costs in there, which no one can escape. So if you take only even just this cost and take out the margins, just like Riverson has said, and the margins of BDCs, the margins of OMCs, and the premiums that the BDCs pay to the international suppliers are excluded because we've deregulated the market and the MPA does not prices for consumers. So, I mean, for the oil marketing companies, and hence we've taken this out of the determination of the price floor for every window. So if you come up with this price floor, which is based on only fixed costs that apply to everyone in the industry, then it is very questionable to see anyone who is selling below cost. Remember that the MPA's mandate is to protect both the consumer and the petroleum service provider. And this is because we need to protect the industry for it to be sustainable, for the industry to continue to supply us the petroleum products that we have access to. So it is wrong for us to assume that the regulator should just leave the market to play anyhow and then kill itself. That would not be fair. But I think I need to make a correction there, Evans. I think you kept saying that the price floor is 9.8 and can it be reviewed downward. I want to correct that the price floor is not a fixed figure and it changes every single window.
Okay.
The window before this window, for example, the price floor was more than 10 cedis. And so every window we review the price floor. We've had the price floor as high as 13 cedis before. And this is because the floor takes into consideration prevailing world market prices, prevailing exchange rates. So as the world market prices and the exchange rates change, every window the price floor keeps changing. And this is something we publish to the public. So it is a public document. Anyone can have access to it. So it is not a fixed figure as if it is 9.8 and we never change it. It changes every single window. Well, but you also started your presentation with a graph. Let me just make a comment on this. Sure. We've had the price floor in place for the past 2 years. And per your graph, you realize that even though we have a price floor, it has not prevented the market from being competitive. Yeah. And that's how come one marketing company can use price as a tool to gain more market share. And also, let me state that because this price floor, as I've already said, excludes certain costs and the margins of these companies, and therefore you cannot sell below. You hardly see any oil marketing company sell at the level of the price floor as we speak today. No oil marketing company is selling at the level of the price floor across all of these stations. If that was realistic and doable, you would have seen an oil marketing company selling at the level of the price floor at all of these stations. And that would have given that oil marketing company the moral right to say that had it not been for the price floor, I could have sold lower to consumers. So this price floor is not anti-consumer. It is ultimately for the consumer because we need to ensure that consumers have access to petroleum products at all times.
Okay, and stay with me. Let's come to the Abass. So this conversation is important only because the ordinary Ghanaian can benefit. And one of the ways ordinary Ghanaians can benefit is if you pass it on through reduced fares. You applauded the government before for the break that they have managed to keep the prices down. I'm just looking at where we are now. Even if you're taking the two industry leaders for diesel, if you take petrol, Star Oil is at 9 cedis, 97 pesos. And gold is at 9 cedis, 99 pesos. That's very, very low. How is that translating to fares?
You see, we almost every time use that of gold, which prices are most oftenly a little higher than that of Star. We also advise our drivers to study which fuel one uses, because of once upon a time we had problem with certain products that we buy and the outcome. We don't use only fuel to run transport. We've been saying this. The last time we reduced fuel, lorry fares was in May. I stand for correction, but I believe around 2nd May or so.
That's last year?
Last year, yes. By then, it was around 7.
I think it was up, you reduced by 15%.
Yes, we reduced the fares by 15%. We were around, we saw the marketing, the fuel marketing companies also reduced by 18% or so. Now, as at last year May that we reduced the fare by 15%, the fuel was around 12 cedis. It came down, it fluctuated, went up, came down until recently. That of today, let's take 10 cedis, the 9.99, because if you dash a small boy 5 pesos or 10 pesos, he has nothing to buy with that 10 pesos. So let's assume we are now within 10 cedis range. Now, most of the passengers are crying that, oh, when are you going to reduce lorry fares? But by then, from last year May until recently, it wasn't the 12 cedis that we reduced. It went up, came down until recently that we are around the 10 cedis. So at least they should give us small briefing space. You see, we have so many things we took into consideration when we came up with the 15%. We came up and said, we have spoken to those of the spare parts dealers. They have promised to look at it for us. They never did. Today, we are confidently saying if they have done anything. You see, we are looking at the vehicles we use to run transport. If we have reduced spare parts of V8, we don't use V8 to run transport because maybe they were not buying those parts. That is why they reduced those parts. Let's look at the Sprinter buses, the Toyota Fish, and the small cars that we use for this Uber, taxi, etc., etc. None of those parts have been reduced. Oil, lubricants. The oil that I use, I buy from Goil. I'm not advertising for them, but that is the product I found to use. I buy from Goil. And the oil that I've been using from last year, the 5 liter is 600. As at yesterday, it was still 600. So oil, when we come to lubricants, brake fluids have never received any reduction. You see, we use all these things to run transport. There are certain things we still use to run. So we are pleading that they should look, those in authority, should look at those areas as well. Then when we are talking about reduced lorry fares, we should also confidently do that. Okay. Because we are working to get profit out of what we are doing.
But if the fuel prices continue to go down,
we'll pray for the government as we are doing today.
If that happens, and it happens consistently, so it's sustainable period, can we anticipate that you may consider a reduction?
Yes, that was what we did in last year. Okay. And the possibility of repeating that is also there. But we are into business. We also make sure the next time we talk about reducing lorry fares, we're also looking at the business that we are doing, so that we might not collapse the business completely.
Yeah, Riverson, so that question, what is your forecast? Is this trend going to continue for how long?
Yeah, I mean, as long as we do not experience any geopolitical scenarios. I mean, we've seen the Venezuela issue. There was there was a 2-day spike at the global pricing level, but it came down again. And that's the more reason why Ghana, unlike many other countries, and let me say this, Nigeria is trying to learn from us how we do our pricing today, so that we do not say that today prices have gone up a day, so let's change our price at the pump, so that we practice that 2 weeks window kind of regime. That gives some level of stability instead of jumping up and down based on the world market price or even how the city will feel daily, So even as we are talking about the importance of the floor price, which is temporal, I believe, yes, Abass from MPU will agree with me that we still need to kind of look at making the industry, sanitized, because if the industry is sanitized, this floor price wouldn't be needed. And then we know that everybody is playing fairly, regardless where you get your product from. You are still paying your taxes.
That's a function. That's a function of the regulator.
Exactly. So today we're looking at the November figures in terms of markets. In terms of supply from the marketing companies. And I was personally shocked to see two new OMCs who are competing with the likes of the top 15. Companies who were in the 50th rank today are ranking 6th for diesel and 7th for PMS.
Is it on price? Is it ranking based on what?
No, based on the volume that they've supplied.
Okay.
And
the volumes have gone up.
The volumes have gone up.
So is it market share or just simply volume?
The market share.
Market share, okay.
So for me, how can a company, and this not to be so bluntly here, a company called Airlink, I've never heard it before. Today is running shoulders with the likes of Allied and the rest. Petrosol, who has a number of stations. You have 6 stations. You are selling more than these companies. A company called Smart and Partners. You see, this is the problem we have in the industry. We allow this unfair business to happen. And that's why someone like Star will say, then let's scrap it. Let's all be dirty, or let's all play fairly. Because the regulator should be able to stop this at the very instant, because you have all the data. We should not wait for the man to come before we even analyze this information to know that 2 OMCs who are far behind are now top 15, or even top 10, or even top 15. Yeah. It's not right. Where are they getting the product from? Where are the stations? Where are they selling it to? If you calculate the throughput, that means that this station that they have 6 of them is selling 2.5 million liters every month. That's what it's showing. So how much is Shell Airport even selling?
So that should be a red flag.
It's a big red flag.
Okay, let me ask Abass. Abass, so how do you respond to that?
We have 2 Abass. Abass,
you're right.
NPA, and
Abass, yes, you're absolutely right. Ibrahim Tasunti, let me use that. How do you respond to that? Because the civil society groups have argued that actually the price floor is an admission that you have failed. And he just mentioned the point again that the regulatory responsibility you have is failing, and that's why this is happening. Respond to that for me.
Yes, so as I said, the price floor wasn't brought in to directly address illicit activity. But he has a point where he says that there are issues in the industry regarding some of these practices that have to be addressed, and it's a constant fight that the regulator has been having. And the fact that it has not been 100% addressed yet doesn't mean that a lot is not being done. So this is something that we consistently work on. MP is always working on this. You see, it's like crime. Crime is in the system, the police is there, the security forces are there, but we continue to fight it. So same thing with our industry. Every now and then we engage and we are putting in measures. There are several measures that we have in place to address some of these illicit activities. So it's a continuous fight that we have, and we've not stopped addressing these problems. But it does not mean that we should also not have measures to address other problems when they come up. The price floor is to ensure sustainability of the industry and ensure one of the principles of pricing, which is we're ensuring full cost recovery of investment. So we cannot push it aside, and then it will rather worsen the case.
Yeah, but let's talk some specifics. I mean, at least it's giving you red flags right now. First of all, have your independent monitoring picked up on this, and are you even pausing to investigate what is happening, to understand it?
Yes, so the figures he's mentioned to you are figures that the MPA itself has published. If you visit the MPA website right now, you see what he's saying there. So this is data that the MPA itself has put out there. So it is not data that is new to MPA. But like I said, once we see these numbers and we see the growth in some of these OMCs, then we have to go in and do the.
So the question then to you is, since you published it, did you first notice there may be a problem? Was it a red flag to you? And have you sent in a team to investigate?
So as I said, these are not things that immediately you see, you take the immediate action. A lot is being done, which is behind the scenes, because Riverson has every right to put it out there. As a regulator, we see this. There's a lot we do out there that is not in the public domain.
Yeah. Okay. But it's a simple question.
Let me learn.
Behind the scenes means what exactly? I mean, it's pretty vague to say behind it. What exactly is behind the scenes? What are you doing behind the scenes on this matter?
A lot of the work MPA does is not in the news. So what Riverson has raised is a concern, and it's a valid concern. Riverson will admit that this is not the first company that has come up. There are several companies that come up like this. We do a lot of work, and then they are taken out. It doesn't mean new ones may not come up. So this is a company that is mentioned, and this is the data that MPA itself has put out. But we are investigating, we do a lot of work, and once we fish them out, action is taken. But like I said, there's so much work MPA does that is not in the news, it's not in the public domain. It doesn't mean nothing is being done about it.
Yes. To my question, on the specifics on this one, what are you doing specifically?
I just answered that question. We do a lot of data analysis and investigation.
No, that is
not in the news on a daily basis.
That is answering a
so
general.
I don't know how I want you to answer this question.
No,
so this issue about price floor came up. How often do you talk to me to know what MP is doing?
Well, I'm being very precise. I'm being very precise.
Yes, I'm saying that he has raised a concern. This is data that we ourselves put out. And so when we see this red flag, we on our own do our investigations, and then we fish them out and take action. So the fact that he mentioned the company's name on air doesn't mean that on air I tell you exactly that the problem has been solved.
No, my question is simple. So this was flagged. You published it.
When was it flagged?
You said it. You said this is your data. So you published the data. And I'm asking you, when you publish the data, have you moved further to try and understand what's happening?
Do you know when the data was published?
I don't know. You tell me. You published it.
Yes, that's what I'm telling you. So this is data we published last week for November. And I'm saying that NPA on its own does these investigations and we take action.
Okay.
This is not the first company that popped up with such numbers that is no longer there today. So you see, you are asking for instant action now, but these things, you don't just take instant action. You take your time, you investigate, and then you act on them. So you can see something and complain about it today, but as a regulator, the regulator has to take the time and investigate the issues and then take action. So saying that, because Riverson has said it right now, action should be taken on it. I'm saying that we publish this data and we notice these red flags. We have a research department that publishes the data, and then we identify these red flags and we act on them accordingly. And we cannot have, I'll admit that we cannot have an industry that does not have some of these infractions. And so we have several measures that we have in place to ensure that we address these concerns.
Yeah.
I will not sit on air and admit and say that the industry is perfect. No. Okay. But that's why the regulator is there. We've taken so many actions in the past to ensure that the industry still remains sustainable. And one of those things we do, as we are discussing today, is the price floor. So there are several measures we take, and they all work together to ensure that we have a very sanitized industry.
Riverson, very quickly on that, you just clarified that this is something that they may not look at, look at.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's part of our discussion with them once we engage with MP and even at the board level, so that we have that free and fair. Because, Evans, floor price, like Dr. Theo Acheampong was saying, it's nothing new. When I was the head of economics risk and planning at Ghana Gas, at a point in time, we had to bring floor price for the sales of our condensate. Because we realized that during the COVID time, because of the formula we had with MPA to sell our condensate into the premise market, or even at that time, at the gasoline market, the price of a condensate was supposed to be negative. So the board asked us to set up a floor price below which we're not going to sell the condensate.
Hold it also for me. I want to do a quick forecasting just so that we can have the consumer question. And Theo is with me, and just slightly moving away from the nitty-gritty of regulation and price floor. So Theo, clearly something is happening that is at the economic management level that is impacting on the prices at which we're buying fuel at the pumps, if you hold the global factors constant. So the question then is sustainability. What is it that the finance ministry is doing right now to sustain these gains over a longer period of time? So you give Abass Imoro and his group a justification to then reduce prices of fares going forward, so the masses benefit. And give me the forecast going forward, say for the next quarter.
Yeah, no, we just continue to do what we're doing and what we have done the last year to bring stability to the Ghanaian economy, especially on the inflation front, but particularly when it comes to the availability of dollars, right, to be able to clear these products. Because like of the four factors that I mentioned and we discussed, the single biggest driver often comes down to the exchange rate, besides the international price of the product that you're buying. The levies are fixed. The margins of the players in the market is also relatively fixed, although some of them can compete, right, on that. And we are seeing competition both on price and even, you can argue, on volume, right, as well. So really from the sort of big macro level, it comes down to what extent does one ensure that you have a relatively stable exchange rate. And I can tell you that the ministry is very much on top of its job and doing everything that we can to ensure that you have a stable rate. You have enough dollars also in the system to be able to allow those that are importing these products into the country to be able to clear, right, their payments, but not just BDCs or, even OMCs, that there is enough dollar availability in the system for all the different goods and services that we import into the country. In the more medium to long term, some of the other, big ticket reforms that are happening on the structural side, the productivity and the competitiveness issues, the, growing more local food, 24-hour economy, a big push, all those things that would really anchor, right, the more medium to long-term reforms that you're looking for to boost the recovery that we've seen. That's all so being done. So I think I can assure Ghanaians that from where the ministry sits, a lot of work is being done to ensure that at least of the exchange rate, which is one of the big drivers when it comes to the pricing, the government is up to task in ensuring that you have the stability that we have seen can be sustained. And then those gains are ultimately passed to consumers in terms of lower, fuel prices.
Yeah, and Riverson, quickly in the next, give me a quick forecast. What do you see? Are we going to see prices still continue to drop?
It's likely, like I said,
so we're going to see further drop.
It's highly possible,
Okay.
and we can be certain about it in the coming few days.
Okay, and that's good news. Maurice says you are going to see more.
But he knows, and you also knows, we haven't even gotten to around 5 cities reduction. Everybody is crying, reduce fare, reduce fare. They should give us briefing space.
Okay. But he says you're going to get more fuel reduction.
We are praying for that.
Okay.
So that we also get into the single spine, as you people are enjoying. Let's professional drivers get closer to single spine salary. Then we all live happily.
Right.
So we are expecting.
And on that about your members charging on approved fares, I understand that from tomorrow you're beginning some form of a task force that's going to go.
Yes.
Just briefly tell us what's happening tomorrow.
There is a problem. A new character has gotten into our business. You know, before you operate as a professional driver, you might go through some system. At least you just can't buy a vehicle, place it on the road and start working. We have laws against that. If you look at the LI 2180 regulation 2012, you look at regulation 121, it is there. You first have to join a union, or you can register in a transport company so that the authorities can identify where you operate to and from. They will know the directors of that particular transport company or union or otherwise, so that if you do anything which the country doesn't want within the driving industry, they could easily get you and maybe correct you or otherwise, which so many people that we call floating drivers are today on the road.
Okay.
Against that law.
So what's going to happen
So
tomorrow?
now currently we are going to put our union guards, we are going to request the services of the assembly, because the assemblies are also involved.
Okay.
They're also going to benefit from it. Okay. They will give us task force. Together, we have also pleaded with the transport minister to see to it that police also gets involved to check all this. Would bring a stop to those loading short, because everybody has a route certificate, which allows you to load from Abekan to Accra, from Amasaman to Accra, from Kaswa to Accra, so that those responsible will be seen doing what they are.
Are you going to be arresting these drivers?
Yeah, those who drive in contravention to the laws might be arrested, prosecuted, and what the law says could take over from there.
Abass Imoro, thank you very much for that clarity. And if you're on the streets tomorrow, it's beginning tomorrow?
We are starting.
Tomorrow.
And even we have some unions who has so many membership, whereby they've divided Team A and Team B. Team A will work today, Team B will not work. We are also deploying the Team B who are not working, so that we put them at other routes where we have identified having hardship on the passenger transport issue. Okay. So we are going to do what we could to make sure we rectify the situation.
So if you're a commuter...
And especially those who load and charge more than what they are supposed to charge, they could also be arrested and prosecuted, because we have laws against fares 1 to 3 miles. We are not supposed to take more than this. Fares 1 to 5 miles, we are supposed to take this, so that we all live happily.
So if you're a commuter, from tomorrow, please cooperate with the task force as they enforce this. Enjoy the rest of your